Thank you for joining us for Manufacturing Talk Radio. We're pleased to be talking with Scott Heide today. We're going to be talking about some engineering stuff, probably certainly over my head, Lou, maybe over yours, I don't know. You may be smarter in engineering than I am, but we're going to find out the cool stuff that Scott is doing, and we look forward to his contribution to the body of work we're putting together under this manufacturing umbrella. Scott, thanks for joining us on Manufacturing Talk Radio.
You're welcome, Tim. Thanks.
Glad you're here.
I think we're going to be talking about engineering to order. Is that kind of sum it up, Scott?
That's it. You know, we focus on helping companies that make customized products that they have to make specific to each of their customers. That is a big business benefit for them, a competitive advantage to make a specific product, but at the same time, it takes a lot of extra time and effort and cost to do that. And our role in this is to help them automate some of those steps and make that a much more efficient process.
So we're talking about software, correct?
Yes. So there's software underlying product we call Knowledge Bridge, but that is used to capture the rules about how the product goes together. And then those rules get executed in an automated way to generate a proposal document or a drawing or a CAD model. And in doing so, saving lots of time, reducing mistakes, and just being more effective in their business.
So you're sort of teaching your computer how to be an engineer. Is that right?
That's exactly right. In fact, we've jokingly used the term engineer in a box. So if we can capture what an engineer would otherwise do to create a quote, for example, then that sales guy out in the field can sit with a customer and do a configuration of a heat exchanger or a custom window or door or elevator, whatever it happens to be. And since the engineering is being done by the software following the rules, he can be assured that it's a valid and accurate solution for that customer without having to go through that whole process of going back in-house, checking it over, and doing a lot of extra work. So in some cases, we're able to, put that engineer in the box, make it possible for a lot more people to do a quote or a proposal document than otherwise would be able to do it.
Do I sense the fact that the engineer's job is on the edge of a cliff?
Well, believe me, mostly what we get is thank you, because the engineers really don't want to be involved in that hurried, process of putting together a quote. They'd rather be focused on the special cases, not doing the same things over and over again, just with different numbers and different values, but actually exploring new solutions and creative solutions where the automation may not apply. So frankly, we don't get pushback from the engineers. And in fact, what we found with several of our companies when we've gone back and really analyzed things is, they have the same number of engineers. They're just doing 3 times the business that they were doing before. And so they're able to just make them more efficient. And frankly, for a lot of the, industrial Midwest type companies, especially out in more rural locations, it's really hard to scale a business that's dependent on expertise like, engineers. And so, and hire people and get them to come. And so if they can automate some of those processes, it gives them an option for scaling the business that doesn't require, bringing in a lot of people from elsewhere.
So I'm sort of a numbers guy. So let me ask you, in a typical project, what % of the engineering workload is taken over by your software?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's, as you can imagine, all over the map, because it depends on how much of those processes are repeatable. How much can we capture in the rules to be repeatable? We've had some cases where it was, 90%, and other cases where it's, 40% or 30%. But if if it's 30% of hundreds and thousands of man hours in some cases, that's a big value. And in the cases where it's 90%, it's for a relatively simple product typically that's being done over and over and over again. And so we're able to capture that and make it much easier. For the much more complex products, it's more typically 70, 60%, something like that.
So can the salesperson, as you put it, in the field, can he do this on his iPad in front of the customer?
Yeah. Yes. And so we have all the cases. So we have some cases where the users of our technology are the actual application engineers. It's just making them more effective. We have the case where the sales guy uses it while he's with the customer. We also have the case where the customer uses it. So we put it on the website and the customer is actually filling out the information about what he wants, and the engineering's happening behind the scenes. So again, it kind of depends on the product and the complexity and the market, but each of those scenarios is possible.
Is this a for sale software, lease, rent?
Yeah, good question. So, I've been involved for, we won't say how many decades, with this type of business, this design automation business. And this new product, Knowledge Bridge, one of the key elements of it is we wanted to take advantage of modern technology and the modern internet infrastructure. And so we made it cloud-based from the start. So there's virtually no installation, upgrades are easy, all of that. And based on that, we do a SaaS type subscription pricing. So yes, it's a subscription type pricing model, and it's a cloud-based deployment, a SaaS type deployment.
And upgrades and improvements to the software is all automatic.
Yeah, and bundled in and automatic. That's right. So it makes the support for these kinds of applications incredibly easier. We have some customers that have as many as 1,000 or more seats being used in the field by their sales teams, and the logistics of bundling software, deploying it, doing installers, and all of the kind of stuff that you have to do for traditional software to get them to run it on their computer is just a daunting thing when you consider you can just sit down at your computer and log in with your mouse, with your computer, and boom, you're logged in, and that's it. You don't have to install anything, you don't have to do anything, and it's there. It's a great thing for us and for our customers.
One of the things that Tim and I have experienced, my primary business is All Metals and Forge Group, which is a forging company, and been doing it for, I'm not afraid to say, 6 decades.
Yeah.
And the things, and we started Manufacturing Talk Radio and the other podcast about 7 years ago, and it's really amazing what Tim and I have learned about the technology that's out there, and some of which is being created as we speak. And the primary reason for our doing the Manufacturing Talk Radio show and the other podcast shows is to be able to convey your message, or whoever's message, right, to the manufacturing base, not only here in this country, but for example, we had a gentleman on 2 days ago who was in Germany.
Yeah.
And we're beginning to get our word going around the world.
Yeah.
And and even that in itself, the ability for us to be able to do this. There was one particular event that Tim's in Atlanta, I'm in New Jersey, but I was in Brazil at a oil and gas exploration show.
Mm-hmm.
Our guest was in California. I don't remember exactly who it was, and it worked like a dream. We were on, two ends of one continent, and I was in South America, and it just amazes me that all of this is available to us.
And we've taken a lot of effort to make it efficient, even on the internet. We're doing a lot of geometry. Our configurator is a very visual environment, so you can see the product in 3D. You can interact with it, drag and drop and snap things in place. And so there's a lot of stuff there, right? But we've taken the time to make it very efficient. I've done demonstrations running off of my hotspot on my iPhone, sitting in a conference room in Tokyo, and had no problems. It worked well. And we have customers in Japan, we have customers in Germany. We actually have an employee, believe it or not, in Nigeria that uses it every day, and there's no, the performance just isn't an issue. And that's really a testament to this new technology and where we're going. So.
Tim and I were at a trade show about a year or two ago, and it was one vendor there that was showing off his software. And I don't know if you're a Trekkie, a Star Trekkie, but there was a room that they would go into, 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor, and they can create whatever environment they want, and you're in that room.
Right.
Well, this particular vendor, you could go inside the machine that he built. And you can walk around and look for defects, see where you can cut corners and so on. It was really fascinating.
Yeah. We are creating 3D models, 3D scenes. We do shading and materials, so it looks, I wouldn't say completely photorealistic, but very realistic. And we're moving towards doing a VR type of virtual reality type of output from our system, and augmented reality. So we have customers, for example, that make custom furniture, and that'll be great when we can just place that furniture in their environment through an augmented reality type system and have them see exactly what it's going to look like. Right now they can see it in a 3D rendered walkthrough type of environment, but to be able to see it right in their environment will be great. So
incredible.
Scott, as CEO of Engineering Intent Corporation, I appreciate you sharing, and I'd like to hear a couple more stories about actual products where the customer has used this in a very challenging situation. What are some of the more challenging ones you've come across?
Yeah, so we get used across a real wide variety of equipment. The commonality is the customization, and so just some simple examples, like I mentioned, custom furniture, being able to do quotes of custom furniture in the field and have it engineered and designed and priced right at that point of sale is an ideal application. And then all the way on the other end of the spectrum, we've done large scale transformers, for example. So in that case, the customer doesn't care too much about what it looks like. It better, do its job. And there's a lot of detail, both engineering detail at the electrical level and mechanical level and thermal and manufacturing considerations and shipping considerations and so on. And all of that has to be taken into account to design this product create the 3D model, and create the information necessary to manufacture it, all that has to be taken into account. And so, some large scale equipment like that is probably the biggest challenges. We've done some very large heat exchanger type HVAC equipment. So we actually have a couple of customers that do the kind of air handling units, those big, look like a mobile home sitting up on top of your building,
Right.
that do the air handling. And so there's many subsystems within there. There's many things to be taken into consideration. And this system, maybe step back a little bit, it works kind of similar to the way a spreadsheet does. The individual rules are just simple declarations about this is 3 times that, or this has to be 2 inches from there, or there's just simple rules, but the combination of hundreds and sometimes thousands of them ends up being able to design a very complex product in a matter of minutes. And that's it's the fact that you can do that kind of simple step-by-step capturing of the rules and relationships and end up with this ability to do this very large scale design automation is kind of the special sauce of what we're all about.
I have a question about if a customer of yours designs something and they put in a new rule, let's say. Yeah. Does that new rule then stay in the software that other clients can use the same information?
No, actually, and that brings up 2 good points. One is it's a highly secure and separated system. The knowledge that the customers are putting into our system is in effect the family jewels of their company. Often it's how their product is made. So companies get very nervous about intellectual property and security and so on. And so we've put a lot of effort into the building of the security infrastructure of our system so that we can keep separate each customer, and each customer's IP is considered sacrosanct. We don't touch it, and it's in their own silo. That said, one of the really interesting parts, I think, of the way we do this is, I mentioned I've been doing this for 3 or 4 decades, not 6, but traditionally we go into a company and they make cooling towers, and we start from the ground up and we build this application with them, writing all these rules, and then we go to another company and we start from the bottom. And the reality is that engineering is a collaborative environment. No one engineer designs a product. It's never the case that one engineer does it. It's dozens, if not hundreds, if you consider all of the vendors and the engineers involved. And so what we've done is made it possible to modularize sets of rules, to put them together into a simple module and test it and evaluate it and so on, and then share it so that when we're building up a new application, so that cooling tower example, 70% of the rules are not proprietary. They're not specific to them. It's not competitive advantage. It's just the mundane stuff that you need to put together the application. If they can focus on their IP and just bring in modules to do the 70% that's just that mundane piece, then it becomes really efficient to create these applications. The applications have super high value, but they take some time to build. So anything we can do to make it to, get to that result faster and easier and make the maintenance of it better is just a huge thing. And so these modular sets of rules we call projects. They're kind of like an app on your iPhone. And we've actually are launching an app store. We have multiple third parties who have already started to build applications to go into this app store, so that in the future, as we're building these applications, you'll start by just buying a few applications or getting some of the freeware ones or whatever and pulling them together and then putting your IP in there, and it'll just be much easier process.
You know, sitting here listening to you, Scott, it just seems as though that it's a tremendous, and I don't know what the cost is, it's a tremendous ROI towards your product development.
Yeah, the ROI is, sometimes we tone it down when we talk to customers because it just doesn't sound realistic. And the reality is that the product does a lot. It is the absolute best product for doing this kind of automation, but it's still work. You still have to know the rules. You have to put the rules in there. It takes some time and some effort. And it's that connection between, you know, okay, I decided I want to do this, to getting the value, you know, shortening that time, that's important to us, because if that time is a year or two, you know, it gets more difficult to make that decision. Even if the pot of gold is there at the end of the rainbow, you know, if it's 3 months, then it's a lot easier to make that decision and go after that pot of gold. So our you know, job is to help shorten that process. And frankly, a lot of companies at this point have tried to do traditional programming to do what we do. And they've found that that pot of gold is way out there at the end, because there's just too many aspects to it. And the programs get complex and big, and programmers don't understand engineering or manufacturing, so you have this communication problem. So the whole idea of our product is to make it so you don't need code, you just need these rules, and the rules can be created and maintained by the engineers themselves. They don't have to depend on a bunch of programmers. And so it just makes it possible, again, to get to that pot of gold a lot easier and faster, and then maintain it after that, which is also a big issue.
Well, Scott, this has been really informative content for our viewers, but they need to know how to get a hold of you.
Oh, great. So
share your website with us, if you would, please.
Yeah, the website is engineeringintent.com. So just the words engineering, INTENT.com. And we have tons of information there, example cases. You can even run a couple of applications there and kind of get a feel for how it works on the web. And so, and there's further information about how to contact us directly if you want to. So thank you for letting me put that plug in. So
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm sure they'll find your phone number and email addresses there as well. Yes. And while they're surfing the web, we encourage them to go to Jacket Media Co. You'll see a yellow jacket. Lou's got a better color on today than I do. For our logo, and we have links to all of our shows at jacketmediaco.com. And we appreciate you joining us for this episode of Manufacturing Talk Radio.
Thanks, Tim and Lou. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.